would first like to make absolutely clear is that in our country, here in the plurinational state of Bolivia, there was a failed military coup d'etat. There was a failed military coup. And we have been reporting on this from the very first moment when this movement of tanks and military troops began to take place around Plaza Morillo, where the Casa Grande del Pueblo is located, where we were with our constitutional president Luis Alberto Arce Catacora, with the vice president. We were about to have our usual Wednesday morning cabinet meeting, but we met in the afternoon because in the morning it was the anniversary of the Unified Syndical Confederation of Peasant Workers of Bolivia, which is the organization that brings together the largest social structure in our country, the farmer movement. Then all these tank and troop movements that took Plaza Murillo began to take place. They began to control and in fact to get rid of all the people who were in Plaza Murillo, in many cases using tear gas. The people begin to mobilize, which is the first thing I want to underscore above all things, the mobilization of the people which plays a decisive role at the time of this coup d'etat attempt by the former commander of the army, Juan José Zúñiga, and other military. In this sense, I would also like to inform the people of our great homeland regarding those who got injured precisely in this failed coup d'etat. Here I show you some images. As we can see, so far we have registered 14 injured by firearms, 14 injured that were in Plaza Murillo, passing by, resisting. They have been actually trying to enter to safeguard our president's life, our democracy. And in this regard, I regret very much that in light of what has happened, our country has been one of the countries that has suffered the most coups d'etat, around 40 coups d'etat in our history. And what we believe won't happen again, we realize that many forces actually operate so that processes of change, so that revolutions that precisely have the people as protagonists be hindered. And in this case, a scenario of that nature was precisely set up to seek to overthrow a democratically elected government headed by this coup attempt perpetrated by the former commander of the army. However, what he was doing and what the Bolivian people has witnessed was that he had already been trying to enter and take over the Casa Grande del Pueblo. Obviously, what he aimed was our President Luis Arce, and in this regard, we saw the images of the tank pushing the entrance gate to the Palacio Quemado, that is in front of the Plaza Murillo. Then, when he managed to open the gates of the Palacio Quemado, what happened there was that our president, I was with him at that time, told me, "Comrade, I will confront Zúñiga and I will do it to avoid bloodshed among the people, bearing the consequences that I have to face." And those were the images that were made public. The vice president joined the president. I also went along with the president. We went down when Zúñiga was entering Palacio Quemado, and afterwards he came to take control of the Casa Grande del Pueblo, and our president faced him directly, and the president was holding on his hand the presidential baton, and the first thing Arce told him was, "As your Captain General of the Armed Forces, I order you that right away you demobilize the troops, demobilize the tanks that you have in Plaza Murillo, and comply with what is established in our political constitution of the state, and do not put the Bolivian people at risk." Then he began to argue a series of things about the armed forces, that there was a feeling of dissatisfaction and other situations, and what happened at that moment was that our president continued with great steadfastness, with great determination, facing Zúñiga, as we have seen in images, the role of the armed forces played at that moment, and what they were not complying with, the violation of the political constitution of the state, the risk to our democracy, the risk in which the Bolivian people were being put, and he continued instructing and ordering him. Zúñiga continued saying that he was not going to obey those orders. The last thing that our president said to him was, "Are you going to obey, or are you going to obey or not the orders?" So he finally said no. Then what our president did was to look at the commander of the Air Force. Zúñiga entered with the former commander of the Navy, the one who was commander of the Army at that time, well, now former commander, and he entered with the former commander of the Air Force. Then the president looked at him and said, "Are you gonna be part of this coup d'etat led by Zúñiga? You are still on time to be on the side of the people, to be on the side of democracy, to be on the side of the Constitution." Those videos were made public. I was also there. I started to tell many things to both Zúñiga and this general. I told them that history should not repeat itself, that they should not stain the military uniform with the blood of the people again, that they should respect the Constitution, and I was telling him, he's ordering the Captain General of the Armed Forces at this moment to demobilize the troops, demobilize the tanks they have, putting at risk the lives of the Bolivian people. Do not repeat the history of the coups d'etat. Do not repeat the history of that terrible past that has given a notorious reputation to the armed forces in our country. Then, the former commander of the Air Force began to realize, and the president said to him, "Are you gonna comply with the orders of your Captain General of the Armed Forces?" And he began to say yes. At that moment, Zúñiga realized that he started to lose control of one of the forces that was decisive for him, because the first thing he did was to seek control on the ground, and he was going to control the air level later. So this Air Force was undoubtedly decisive. When he saw that in reality General Segarra turned his back and no longer looked at Zúñiga but began to take this side, Zúñiga immediately turned around with the other commander at that time of the Navy, and they left the palace. They left the palace, but also at that moment they already saw more people mobilized and coming to Plaza Murillo in defense of our democracy, in defense of our country, of the Bolivian people, in defense of a democratically elected government, in defense of our president. Then many things went wrong because he also tried to approach the Bolivian police. He told the police commander to join him, to return to the police and to assume the leadership of our country. The police commander told him that he has sworn to comply with the political constitution of the state and that he was not going to support him. This has also been decisive, together with, I reiterate, the determination, the position taken by our president that I clearly realized when he went to confront Zúñiga. That was something that he never expected. He was advancing, already entering with troops after the tank knocked down the door to be able to enter. He never expected our president to come out in front of him and confront him the way he did. I realized that from the very beginning, standing next to our president, that this began to unsettle him. That from the moment he saw him coming with that determination, he did not know exactly what to do. I believe that this has been a crucial factor. The people, the awareness of the people regarding the defense of what has cost us blood campaign mourning the recovery of our democracy. And then something that is also fundamental, the fact that there have been statements from presidents, friends, social organizations of our region and the world, of the media committed to the peoples, to their struggles to the truth, what is beginning to circulate at the international level, and an immediate condemnation of what was happening in our country. The solidarity of the peoples in situations like this undoubtedly makes a difference. Zúñiga, there are several things with which this coup attempt began to fail him, and of course then our people ended up winning.